Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Mollie Carmichael with a crew of experts on 2024 design trends and product solutions. And we're going to talk to those national experts here shortly. We have Bill Hezmalhalch. He's the CEO for WHA, or William Hezmalhalch Architects. We've got Eric Zuziak. He's the architect and president for JZMK. And we have Garrett Hoskins, principal and architect with Robert Hidey Architects. So we're going to go into consumer preferences. We're going to look at design trends. I'm going to talk through this as we go, but also looking at the demographic shifts and how that really impacts why we're on this and what's so important. But there's really a lot of exciting things I think that you're going to find as part of this. A couple of things you might not know about Bill. He is a basketball extraordinaire. His whole family. I keep telling him I want to challenge the team and come over and shoot hoops with he and his family. Eric, one of the coolest guys I know as well. He is building a really exciting, you have to talk about this, Eric, at some point throughout your presentation, but exciting, a really beautiful kind of bed and breakfast out in the woods. I talk a little bit about that. And then Garrett Hoskins, he's always in 10 places at one time. Great family guy as well, and super creative. So all three of these gentlemen are very creative. So let's dive right in. Just a few things that I wanted to kind of introduce about Zonda. Hopefully all of you guys know us. You'll know at the end of this. If you want a copy of our slides, reach out to each one of the individual architects. I would tell you on that. We will have the recording of this at the very end. If you have any questions, post them as we go. And we'd love to hear how you like this kind of content. So please share your thoughts there too. We have a team of experts throughout the country. Of course, we have Allie Wolf, our chief economist, Tim Sullivan, chief advisory officer, Kimberly Byram, just amazing at multifamily, Todd Tomlock, everything you need to know about building products. And then, of course, myself on the master plan and product side. If you don't know about our national outlook, please check it out. We are constantly looking at not only what's going on in the economy, but Allie and her team are scrubbing everything you possibly can to make sure you're prepared for everything that's happening in the future and that you're planning your investments accordingly. If you don't know about Livable, it literally, and most of you probably know this with New Home Source and some of the other pieces with BDX, we're all sort of one team, one family today. But Livable has all of the new home listings throughout the country, all the way through to Canada today. And so all of that stuff, it's really cool. Not only is it a one source, which all of your customers really want to find new homes, but it's also a great place to go and dream and see what's out there and what's coming. This sort of reiterates what I just talked to you about with Zonda and BDX and sort of how we've joined forces together. Last but not least, we have the nation's largest data provider. I call it a strategy provider more than data, but we've got Building Product Pro, we've got Mortgage Pro, we've got Enterprise, all these things, every new home community that you're looking at or want to know about, whether it's future supply or what's on the ground today, we really want to be that resource for you. So again, our goal is to help you guys make better decisions so that you aren't collecting data through that whole process. You can actually just focus on what's there and move forward. Last but not least, if you want your local market snapshot, this just gives you kind of all the facts. I used to call my cheat sheets back in the day. But if you're looking at any one market, take a look at these. They're great to have. It'll show you the trends of where things going. And we also have new forecasts and some of those things depending on the market. So that's also super important too. So we're going to talk about how to win in 2024 and 25. I'm constantly looking at who the top builders were last year, where those builders are going this year. I won't be covering the top builders, but we do have another webinar planned for that as we get all the final numbers in from the analyst reports and all of that. But let's take a look at just kind of what's changing out there just from a demographic perspective. And then we're going to jump right into the design stuff that you're here for. So big demographic shifts that are just happening that everybody should be aware of. Your top opportunity today, it's 25 to 45, which is great. Because they have to move, families are forming, and families really changing. And that's one of my big points here. But it's closely followed by 45 to 65, which again, that's where all the wealth is. So we've got really the right generations moving at the right time. So that was one of our big challenges in the big downturn. We didn't quite have that same momentum as it related to demographics. So that's a really big deal, despite, really what's going to happen in the market. The next one is growing families remain your top opportunity for sure. So again, that 25 to 45, they continue to be the biggest segment in the demand modeling that we're doing throughout the country. But again, followed very closely by retirees. Families getting really redefined. So one of your fastest growing segments, which I think is huge, is the non-family world, particularly single women in the new housing market. So families just shifting. If you go back to household size in the 1950s and 60s, it was 2 times the size that it is today. And the number continues to go down. We're also seeing, people getting married later in life and all those changes that go with it. Aging in place is also really becoming very much redefined. And I think technology is going to continue to redefine that more. So the more and more we look at just how we retire, and as you look at how you're going to care for your parents or any sort of disabilities that are in your household, technology is really changing how we can address that. Probably the biggest crush I think we have for the next 2 years is just the crush of affordability. And so rising rates, we are forecasting lower rates this year. We are forecasting lower rates the following year. Let's hope that that happens. But it continues to be a very, very big challenge on just providing great housing solutions. And that's why I thought this webinar would be such a great webinar. And then last but not least, I just think consumers are redefining what home means. So historically, if we look at just family households and how they're looking at, again, the redefinition of their families, but I think the other part to this is just looking at what home means and why people are purchasing homes. So for example, people who are retiring used to buy one big home in that place they wanted to retire. Now more and more people are buying 2 homes, one close to their kids and one somewhere else. So there's a lot of different things that are happening with home. We're hearing a lot of home even being redefined just because of work and things like that. So we're going to jump right into that and see how we can provide some solutions for that. The next one is, we do a survey and we ask really how far people are moving today and how that's impacting our choices. So when we look at what consumers want, certainly, logically speaking, they're expanding how far they're going to drive. Particularly with Gen X, we're seeing them more logically moving farther away because they can telecommute and they are telecommuting. They're also planning for, the care of their parents, or potentially their 18 plus or 21 plus year old children are just staying home longer, things like that. And then there's just the I can't afford it. And we have, almost half looking for smaller homes just to meet affordability. So we're looking at that. When we look at the overall change in population, the really expensive states like California and New York are really losing to some of these other states. Some of the no tax states like Texas, Florida, Vegas, they're all sort of winning in these categories, or the more affordable states right next to the very expensive markets like the Carolinas, Phoenix, Idaho is the fastest growing in the West. So all of those markets are really benefiting from some of this population change and some of this migration, just one searching for a better home or just a better place. I always, this has been my philosophy from the very beginning. I was a developer and a builder, and of course now working throughout the country. But I think you have 2 options when you're designing for product. And these 3 people on this are so much better at, providing solutions here. And you can follow the crowd and chase price, of course, or really know your audience. And we spend a lot of time on the consumer research side and product side and design what they want so that you can drive a premium, increase your ROI, and of course, maximize margins in a pretty tight market where costs are challenging, prices are challenging. So you've just got to be better. So with that, I'm going to drive into sort of what will move them. And I'm going to start out with Bill Hezmalhalch just on architectural styles and some of the styles that he's seeing resonating. I do want to say when we look at our trends, modern is certainly continuing to win. In most markets, it's over 50% even for exteriors today. But for the first time in our recent research, I'm starting to see a stabilization and some moves back to traditional. So don't run to modern completely, but what they love about modern is light. So with that, Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you on home style.
All right, very good. So thank you, Molly. So this, as Molly said, there is kind of this hint of returning back to traditional, which we've been seeing here recently. But I think one of the things that we try to do is we try to really understand the regional markets and how those types of elements can influence a more progressive or contemporary design as shown here. This is adjacent to a historic landmark, Covina Bowl. And so we're just kind of picking up on some of the angular symbols and recreating that in the architecture. So somewhat transitional, somewhat progressive. We can move to the next image. This is out in the desert, Southern California desert, and this particular project is being co-branded with Disney, which is kind of interesting. We find ourselves in our master plan communities doing this more and more now, but this is kind of hearkening back to some of the historical styles that are present in the Palm Springs areas and some of those with the types of architecture and kind of just reinterpreting them, which so they're still somewhat familiar, but they're still progressive. So it's kind of a nice blend.
I love it. It feels like almost craftsman meets modern, like
Right.
the old Eichler styles.
Very, very much so. So, and then here's just another form of that being a little bit more geometric, more progressive and contemporary. And this, again, this is very regional, works really well in the desert. So it makes sense. And so I think that with the consumers, they want to have something that's somewhat familiar with the region that they're in, and you can just reinterpret it differently. And there's just some more examples of that as we kind of go through this. So there's some new projects that are coming up there. This is definitely a project to see. I mean, Garrett, we just reviewed your project out there, which looks really interesting. So there's going to be some fun stuff out here.
One of the things we're also seeing is just a huge desire, not just for natural materials, so moving back to those really natural pieces, but also just everybody wants light, and that's why modern has been so successful.
Well, you're able to achieve a lot more glazing and, there's a lot of, the freedom of the spaces that come with the modern styles, reinterpreting the floor plans into more of the lifestyle. This is a very much a lifestyle type product, which lends itself to these types of more contemporary elevations, but there are some that are intermixed. There is a diversity of elevation styles that are a little bit more familiar, have a little bit more rich materials and some of those types of things that are mixed in within the mix.
It's beautiful. Oops, wrong way. There we go.
And then I think, as you said, Molly, we're finding ourselves all of a sudden kind of going back in time with a lot of more traditional designs. We're this particular one up in the upper Central Valley, the cities are really kind of mandating that it kind of follows kind of the roots of their community. And so we're actually kind of going back in time and kind of reapplying more traditional, but they're being somewhat contemporized. They're a little bit more transitional as we interpret these to try to make them a little bit more fresh. We kind of use the materials and elements a little bit differently, but still familiar.
Very cute.
And that's a large lot product. And then this is an alley product, similar type of thing, kind of, a play of traditional styles, but they're very warm and friendly. They create a strong curb appeal, and we think the consumer really is liking this because it feels more like home to them, is what we're hearing.
That's what you said exactly what I was thinking, Bill, when you said that. I think that's the other part I really love about this is this could be popular anywhere. So anywhere in the country, this would really be fantastic.
Right.
Well, let's Let's dive into the big topic that everybody wants to solve for, and that's affordability today. And so there's so much there. There's small lot detached, there's townhomes. How do we get to above, 25 to the acre and stick construction? Because we know it's more affordable. So we're going to talk through a couple of those and just going to the simple, hey, if I want privacy and I want detached, how far can you push it? And how far can you push it 2-story? So with that, Bill, I'm going to stay with you because this becomes a more popular answer in different parts of the country. Obviously, architectural styles can change, but talk to this one as we dive into this.
Well, our clients, just like you say, we're really understanding what the potential market niches that are out there. And we found that there was a big absence of any product getting to a price point where someone coming out of an apartment could you have the same monthly outlay as far as cost. So this is a high density detached around 15 units per acre. And we had to make some sacrifices. We lost the driveway, but they are center plotted and they do have a rear yard which they can entertain. And we kept it in the 2-story vocabulary because we want to drive the cost down as low as possible to be able to hit this new marketplace. And this has been highly, highly successful. The client has reused this a bunch of different times in the marketplace, and it continues to evolve and stuff. And so there's a couple different options where we had, going after the single female, we with roommates and things like that with the split garages. So the plans kind of have some different formats to kind of meet some of the different people that are opting to buy them. So it's a good solution, and they're in more dense areas and urban areas, obviously going to 3 stories, but this is still a 2-story market where scale matters and cost are very much a concern.
Well, and think about this. You can avoid the HOA or at least a very minor HOA.
Right.
The alternative to this is row townhomes, right? 2-story townhomes. So you beat the townhome market. And the number one thing consumers want inside and out is privacy. It's privacy of walls touching, it's privacy of your backyards, all of that kind of stuff. So at 15 to the acre, yeah, this is kind of a miracle.
Yeah, and so then kind of the next generation of that product is, as we went through the different situations, rising costs of construction and lack of supplies and driving cost up. And so basically taking that same product and saying, okay, now we have to meet a new price point. We have a marginal site. And so they are able to pull out $30,000 a unit or a plan, which is astronomical. And so how we did that was basically kind of simplifying the roof, reducing the plate heights from the 9s to the 8s, reducing glazing, reducing and componentizing all the cabinets, and just kind of making a big attempt. And they are able to achieve that and come in at the lowest price product in their area. Recently, last weekend, they opened up, I think they sold 23 homes, so very successful. So I think that
Where's this one, Bill?
this is in Modesto, and I think the point is, I think that there's ways to, if you can get out of your comfort zone, there are ways to kind of reduce costs but still provide a nice home. And when you walk them, yes, they don't have the same scale as the higher plates and some of that, but it does feel a little bit more intimate. And you can play along with why cottages are so popular. They have a different scale, so you have to overcome some of these own types of paradigms. But you can do it. You can pull the cost out significantly.
One thing I also want to compliment you on, I love the fact that you put the green medium right through the middle.
Right.
It helps to give it some life and some, that is kind of their backyard. But I also think it's crucial to get those, even if they're just tiny little trees happening down, those streets on the left and right next to the garages. And even if you can get a vine growing around those garage doors, it can really make a difference.
Well, you have to create a sense of place. And so you kind of have to picture the buyers coming in there, they're walking their baby stroller. What does it feel like?
Really.
So special attention to that is really critical.
What's the density on this, Bill?
Well, this one pushes the density up even higher. This is the next sequel to that product. This gets to 16 to 17, and we introduce, it's a smaller lot. It's 32 feet wide. We have 1 cars with open parking spaces that can actually be used as a yard. So just kind of reducing the depth, keeping it still 2 stories for this marketplace and doing a different spin. The last house on the right has an upside down plan, which you kind of enter at a mid-level and come up to the living spaces on the second floor. By doing that, you can get a bigger you can get a bigger living area versus a small compact one on the lower level. So just some, different ways of kind of responding to different opportunities and floor plans.
So 16 to 17 of the acre, 2-story detached. That's pretty incredible. What are your side yard setbacks on this?
Well, we don't go any less than 4 feet, 4 and 4. Although we have done these, it's 6 feet in building to building separation in 3 stories, if you can believe that. So yeah, there's other products that are much tighter in more urban areas.
That's great. Let's talk about the floor plan.
Yeah, here's a little floor plan there with a 1-car garage, and so it's just a very simple, great room, open plan. Everything stacks, but we do pushing bed count. Bed count's still high. We kept
Right.
3 bedrooms, and you have the flexibility of getting the extra parking spaces, and you do have a little rear yard that you can go out and entertain.
That's pretty great.
And then we have another plan. This is the upside down plan where you come up mid-level and then you go up to the upper level, which has the great room and a kitchen and a tech area and a dining room and then the primary bedroom, and then a flex office space or bedroom. And then downstairs, you have kind of a little, could be like a little game room type thing and a private bedroom or 2 bedrooms. So depending on the bed count. And you can actually, a lot of the types of buyers have 2 families moving in. So this could be a 2-family situation in this home.
Oh, that's a 4-bedroom house. That's pretty incredible. And it's just under 1,500 square feet,
Right.
right at about 1,500. That's amazing. So, Garrett, let's talk about this one.
Oh, I get to go. Thank you,
Yes,
Molly. This is Midlands. So we do a lot of creative density solutions in Orange County, and over the years we've expanded those solutions into other parts of the United States. And this so happens to be with Estridge Homes, Clint and Rob and Kelly out in Indiana. They came to us with a parcel on this master plan that required a density that they believed they could only achieve the density with townhomes. And if you go to the next slide, Molly, what we were able to do is get 11.5 DU an acre, single family detached, and these are, one of them is a single story. These were appealing to a 55+ audience. So we had a single story 2-bedroom, and then it goes up to a 3 and 4-bedroom plan. And we created some very cool street scene. Again, we took a contemporary take on a traditional aesthetic and created these homes. So you can see that they are transitional in terms of contemporary and traditional. Just really good massing and removing the fuss. And they are motor court loaded. So to get to your front doors, you go down the motor court. And the idea was we would take these motor courts and upgrade the paving so it felt like a street you shouldn't be driving on. It gave them cul-de-sacs. This is how they live here. You can see the plan 1, the yellow plan, is a single story 2-bedroom. And then you have the plan 2 and the plan 3, which are 3 and 4 bedrooms. They all have living, dining, kitchen down. The plan 1 and the plan 3 have master bedrooms on the first floor, and the plan 2 has the master bedroom up, but they still have a bedroom down. So it was a great solution. It helped our client in the Midwest achieve a density and get them away from townhomes and create higher values. They could sell the houses for a ton more than a townhome. And yeah, it actually started construction, and we're really excited for them to see how this goes. I think we beat the density that was originally designated for this.
So this
project.
is 11 to 12 to the acre. So this could work really well in Texas. All the active adult positions out there, whether it's Del Webb, Trilogy, or just frankly targeted. And you're getting 11 to 12 to the acre. Is that right?
Yeah, 12 to the acre. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So here's the upstairs.
Yep. Yep. So the orange plan has a master up And, you know, and the blue plan has the blue plan has the master up and the plan 3 has a master down. So those are all secondaries. You have a loft. Square footages are ranging from 1,300 to 2,400 square feet.
This could even
So pretty
almost be
cool idea.
multi-generational, right, Garrett? I mean, you could have.
Yeah, these are
you could easily have
exactly
Yeah,
that, Molly.
that's
It
great.
was a really cool idea. And we started with the site. We had the site constraints and we designed inward from the property line to get the density, to get the units, square footages, to get the, you know, the plan types. This is like a unique creative product to meet the constraints of the land.
And you'll see more from that because there was a lot more, I think, evolved and developed in that too. But that's a great solution at that kind of density, particularly given the multi-gen that's going on right now and active adult. Well, let's dive into townhomes and some new densities here. Eric, let's see what you're doing here. I love some of the prototypes that you've developed, but let's start with this one.
This is a 3-story townhome prototype, and what we've done here is try to really get densities up to 25 to the acre in a townhome approach by utilizing some back-to-back buildings in the center of the site. And then this is all alley loaded 3-story townhomes around the perimeter of the site. And these are 1,140 to 1,678 square feet, primarily 3-bedroom units. But one of the unique, next slide, one of the unique things about this is how we're able to go ahead and mass the buildings so they stack straight up to be very affordable to build. All the framing is all stacked, so you're not offsetting beams and having expensive beams spanning different locations.
And
But
every home has a bedroom down. That's pretty remarkable.
Right, and having bedrooms down, and then as we go up to the 2nd floor with our living spaces, and then up to the 3rd floor, we don't take that stair between the pairs of units up to the 3rd floor. So now our roofs up on the 3rd floor can go in different orientations. And when you take that all to the elevations, it really starts to feel more like paired homes.
That is so cute.
So you can change the roof orientation. It still stacks and builds very affordably. Yet everybody seems to get this row townhome front door. Instead of feeling like a 6-plex, it really feels like 3 duplexes. So you're getting 25 units to the acre, but the perception of density is reduced.
Well, and you just said what I was going to say, which is I love that this is 25 to the acre. I mean, look how cute that is.
And the other thing that's really important, if you can go back to that last slide there, Molly, on the elevation, because you only have the fronts and the rears to really deal with glazing, you need to have tall enough windows. The proportion of windows in townhomes should get larger because you're making up for glazing around the sides. But by not having it attached on the 3rd floor, you're getting much more privacy bedroom to bedroom across the building without having party walls. You're reducing party walls on the 3rd floor. And that can also bring in more natural light on the 3rd floor, making every unit almost feel like an end unit. And then we increase density by going back to back with the smaller units. Next slide.
That's pretty incredible that it's 25 to the acre. So row town conventional, and then your back-to-backs following that.
Right. So it's a mix of back-to-backs and row towns getting that density. Next slide. And then we can, again, detach the roofs from each other, even in the back-to-back buildings. The next slide. You see what that does? It allows us to get windows in every unit. So that master bedroom on that top floor is not attached to any other unit. It makes it feel like an end unit, almost a detached level on that 3rd floor. And again, stacking the units straight up, a couple of cantilever decks for your outdoor space, and you're getting about 25 units to the acre, a little over 25 actually.
And the light on these are going to be incredible.
Right. And that's how, and you can also change the roof angles when you're independent on that top story so that you can tilt your solar panels towards the sun. Gives you a lot more flexibility in planning your site plan.
That's a great point.
Here's another project in Costa Mesa that we did. This one is about 12 units to the acre. This site had a parking ratio of 4 parking spaces per unit. And it was a very tight little infill site where it was an old church site. but using that contemporary, that modern style was very, very popular with the buyers.
What was unique about this one, Eric, is these were towns and detached, right?
Well, these were technically single-family detached. So that
Okay.
these were small lot ordinances, one of the first small lot ordinance projects built in Costa Mesa. So these are actually airspace single families. They have a 6-inch airspace between them.
These also had really big backyards. This isn't far from my house. I remember walking these. I loved them.
Yeah,
They also
good
have a
backyard.
huge backyard. So
Three
that did
stories.
fantastic.
Oh yeah, the 3 stories look right over the 2 stories towards the ocean views. So
Yeah, it was great.
it was pretty cool. This is in Austin, Texas, where we're taking townhomes and working with a very restrictive hillside ordinance where we can't have a lot of pervious cover on the site. But using the natural materials, and I think that's one of the trends, Molly, that you brought up with more modern styles of architecture is really integrating natural materials to really warm it up. And, you know, how you transition those materials is really important. So they don't feel like they're pasted on, that, you know, you're really getting whole form wrapping of materials.
Well, and it's ornamental kind of sitting in the hillside too, right? I mean, instead of kind of looking like you just killed everything out there, this is so beautiful. It's like just so beautifully placed.
Right, the stone and the wood integrates into it. And
This-
even here, this one's in Tustin, California. This is 15.7 to the acre, and these are 3-story conventional alley-loaded townhomes. But bringing in the warm materials again and getting the
Mhm.
dark and the lighter contrast of colors really warms up the modern style. And as we're starting to warm up these modern styles, and that is a big trend, utilizing the natural materials, make sure that the materials feel authentic, you know, because it can come off wrong if they don't feel authentic.
There's two things I want to add to this is oftentimes those great little patios that you guys did here, that can add $20,000 to $40,000 to your price. You know, I love the green in front and all of that stuff, but everybody wants a place for their barbecue, their dog to run around, whatever it is, but like that's their entertainment space. So that was a really nice addition. I like that you mixed up the materials here. The other part that I think you guys are so good at is not only finding the right material that's sustainable, that looks great, but it's also not going to be a dingy wood that's going to fade over time. So you guys did such a great job on this one and West Reef on finding a really great material that's going to stand the test of time. And that's so key when you're blending in those natural materials.
Yes, it is. And also getting those second floor decks to be furnishable in size is really important.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's it. That's a huge point too. Great point, Eric. So affordable towns and flats. This is one of my favorite prototypes that you guys did and remarkable densities here, Allsted Construction.
We do a lot of research and development and coming up with new typologies. And this was a new typology that we developed during COVID, during the lockdown, when we were trying to figure out how we were going to design ourselves out of this problem that we were all in, and everybody's working from home. And a lot of people were looking at, a lot of architects were looking at single family, how we address that. We wanted to look at more townhomes and flats, more multifamily, to see how we could address the problems of being able to work from home, having safer environments. We went back to the typology of the walk-up flat. On the top image on the left where the red is, that's a 2-story townhome, and it's over a garage and a workspace on the first floor. And then the blue stack is 2 flats over 2 workspaces on the first floor over garages as well. Then on the corners, what we did was we put cafes, restaurants, your yoga gym, your studio, your yoga studio, your gym. And that first floor of workspaces really engages the street, allows those work from home spaces to really make it feel more walkable. And when you integrate those other uses on the corner, all of a sudden you really got more of a village and a town feel. This has become very popular with a lot of urban infill developers. We're doing a number of these projects in the Sacramento area right now in urban infill locations. The next slide.
I love the fact too, just rooftop deck, the little corner retail piece that could even be like the gym for the community. I mean, it could be anything. Just clever, adds character and brings life to this place.
Right, in that case, we wanted to make sure that everything was sustainable in terms, let's say there is another pandemic, we can have outdoor eating up on the roof deck. We can have al fresco dining on the sidewalk. You have to design those spaces in the communities for that to work in the future. So what we did was we stacked all these units over parking, and with these kind of plug and play modules where we can interchange townhomes and flats, we can really tailor the densities. So in this test plot right here, we got 42.5 to the acre. On some of this infill sites in Sacramento where parking ratios are even lower, we're getting over 50 units to the acre. And this is 3-story stick built on grade construction that anybody who's building a townhome is very familiar with.
And I love the massing on this, and I think the colors really help to break it up. And it's a big part of it, but this is really cute.
Next slide. And this is kind of what makes it work when you put it all together. You can see how on the right, where those pink spaces are, the workspaces on the first floor, and then the flats above even have a work from home space. And then on the left, the townhome, there is a work from home space on the upper level where the master bedroom is. And then on the first floor also, there's a live work space. So it will work for dual income where maybe both people are working from home. My son and his girlfriend live together in Malibu. They both work from home, so they have to have 2 spaces. And that's a growing demographic too. So this takes that into consideration in a lot of those urban infill areas, especially where there's a lot of tech workers too, where a lot of people are working from home.
Well, and this gives that generation, that first generation who doesn't want to move to another area, a place to afford it, particularly in a place like California, but this would work in Denver, Seattle, so many of those areas that people really want to live, but they haven't quite formed families yet. My very first home, 650 square feet, but it started the game of home ownership. And
Exactly.
Garrett and I were talking about this last night. I'm like, every 2 years I'd buy the next size home and the next size home. And that's why I was able to afford California, right? And that's, what a lot of these kids have to do today, or young adults have to do today.
So the other thing I want to mention about this is there's no corridors, there's no elevators. So your efficiency ratios are very high. You're not selling space. You're not building space that you're not selling.
Sure.
Everything stacks straight up. So wrapping the materials all the way around the units is really important. When you're going to stack everything straight up and you have a different material on the first floor than you do the second and third. So you can really break that stack up. Next slide.
So in this one, we're going to talk a little bit more about that same community that Garrett was talking about, but now we're going to move into a slightly higher density. So as that segmentation shifting, Garrett, do you want to talk about the townhomes you have here?
Sure. Yeah, this is the same community in Indiana. We had a very narrow site. North of this diagram is actually a trail that we wanted to connect to. And what we wanted to create was an architectural wall that faced the public street, and to create something where you don't see the ends of buildings. And then what we also wanted to do here was something very contemporary, but using materials from the past and warm materials that would last a lifetime, bring warmth to contemporary architecture. And what we really chased was an adaptive reuse aesthetic. And north of this site, you can see it connects to a trail, is an old rail line. And we're taking that rail line out and turning it into a pedestrian trail that links up all of Indiana. And so you can see, based on the site plan, we created these townhomes that were unique to this site. And the blue product faces the street, and it creates that architectural wall that looks more of like an old town type of an aesthetic. It's a wide and shallow townhome. Overall, on the density on this project, we're achieving 22 DU an acre. And then we put these vertical fingers where you can go past the street wall and connect to these paseos and connect up to that trail. And it's fully parked. It's providing 2.5 parking spaces per unit. But if you can go back, Mollie. So you can see it was a unique design solution to a unique narrow site. I think the typical way you would solve this site is you would go vertical and just stack a grid from left to right, but here we tried to do something different to create that edge of a community. And then you can go, keep going. The wide and shallow plan on that blue plan created these phenomenal, you come up the stairs and you look left to right and you get this big read of a living dining kitchen. And we did carriage units behind that in the vertical fingers in a very shallow townhome. And it ended up creating a pretty awesome community. Keep going and I'll show you the renderings. That's the third floor. So this is that adaptive reuse aesthetic. And adaptive reuse is, it allows us to design a contemporary elevation with warm materials. And it creates a timeless aesthetic that lives on forever. And this is, again, with Estridge Homes, and they are all in on designing something different. Their competition is most of the public builders. And so if we can give them an edge and not compete on price point, but create on creative solutions that help them be the kings of their market. This is 2 carriage units, and if you look at it from this perspective, it looks like a front door and a garage door of the same unit, but what it is actually is 2 separate units, and this view into that paseo. And I think I have one more slide on this, but that's the shallowest unit. We're doing transom windows. We have a base, a middle, and a top. Although it's a contemporary adaptive reuse aesthetic, we're using traditional forms and proportions so that the character and the overall aesthetic of the building lasts a lifetime.
This is a great example, I think, of transitional done really well because it has very clean, modern lines to it, but it has traditional forms to it as well. I also really love how you took the windows kind of straight up and down and sort of married those with the doors down below because it makes those doors feel like it's part of the architecture. Question for you on the garage doors. Did they do those garage doors or was that more design? Did they actually carry that through the execution?
It's a good question. We're actually pushing so that they do carry those because the alley life, when you do townhomes, you're creating like an alley life, and what we found is kids live in those alleys. That's where that's their playground. So the more buttering up of the alley we can do, the better those alleys will live. We're pushing them towards that. I think you will notice that we put white windows on the product. If you want to make any elevation look good, you put black windows on it. That's the easiest way to make them look good. But black windows are 30% more in cost, and typically they don't make sense. So we design these with white windows. If they want to make them look even better than they look right now, they can put the bronze windows in. But these were hitting affordability. The ability to get 22 DU an acre on this small block was huge for them, especially with the bedroom counts and the square footages. So
I'm going to use that, buttering up the alleys.
Yeah. Gotta put some butter on it.
That's a great one. But let's talk about some problem solving. I mean, there's so many issues out there with insurance, and California's got fires, Denver has fires. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on out there. Can you talk a little bit about that in this section?
Well, so, here in California, in the severe fire zones, the insurance is unattainable now for products greater than 2 units. So our clients are finding themselves faced where they have to redesign their products that have their typical 3-story row townhomes. And so they're trying to figure out how they can do that. So this is some recent projects that we've been working on where we're quickly kind of populating them in duets. Duets will be able to be insured. We're maintaining a similar density. So what's interesting is that we've studied multiple sites now, and with these particular duets, they're holding the densities, which was in the low to mid 20s, and we're holding similar square footage. So our clients are saying we got to hold density, we got to hold square footage. And then obviously the duets, we can get them insured. It reduces the HOA burden, which helps the overall cost. It helps us escape the ADA rules, which are cumbersome. And what we end up with is 2 in units. So it's, you don't have the problem of the row townhomes or the interior units with lack of glazing, lack of light. And then, you know, the exterior elevations can be articulated and you can solve a lot of different privacy issues with them. So we're quickly moving into more and more products. These can be done in flats, they can be done in townhomes, they can be done in combinations. And this particular one also has yards with multi-generational or lockout suites on the lower floor, so it can help the affordability by being able to rent your room out to a particular friend or somebody. So kind of fun, kind of exciting. Architecture is familiar and regionalized, so that it kind of contemporizes with the use of different materials and forms, but still affordable in nature.
And Bill, did I hear you right? These are low 20s for these 3-story
Right.
complexes. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And what are the setbacks on this?
Well, we're 8 feet between the units, 8 to 9 feet between the units, and we gain
Okay.
entries down the side, and then we also have entry expressions out on the major streets, which have a, you know, a little different opportunity to strengthen the streets. These are organized in stub alleys, so they're very architecturally friendly on your major circulation streets.
And just to give everybody perspective, in California, because of the fires, HOAs literally went from like $450 a month to $8 to $1,000 in some
Right.
cases a
Right.
month. And so these kinds of products are not just important, but crucial for affordability. What about just kind of solutions for making, you know, room for different ways to function for space and some of that stuff? I know you provided this one. This was fun.
Well, you know, everybody's involved in doing ADUs and multi-tenant suites and, you know, lockout suites. And so it's almost kind of blurred now, you know, how those are all working. Some cities allow us to count it towards unit count. Some cities are allowing us to sell them separately. So there's a lot of different rules involved with these, but we're finding ourselves really kind of populating a lot of the plans with these, like these little ADU, multi-gen, or even small little lockout type situations that you can provide another little living space for someone within the home. So very popular, almost in every project now that we're finding we're doing these.
That's kind of fun. You've got some other great solutions here too.
Yeah, this is just kind of some interior shots of it and stuff. So they have kind of a living space. They'll have a small little kitchenette, depending on the types of appliances. They'll have a stacked washer and dryer, maybe a separate bedroom, maybe not. I mean, we're doing these really small. Some of them now are 250 square feet. So just depends on how much room. They can be attached, they can be detached, they can be on second floors, first floors. So they're everywhere now. Lots of different ways of doing them.
So just to clarify, that's the bedroom we just saw behind that couch.
Correct. Correct. And so these really work with different, you know, the buyer profiles now. We find so many mixes of different people that are living in the same spaces. This is an attached mid-20s to the acre. The city required that we provide a micro unit, or we call it an ADU unit. It did account
show
in
it
our
real quick.
density, and there it is shown right there. We have 2 versions of it. The one on the right is just basically a living room flexed to a bedroom with a kitchenette and a bath. And then in the middle there, we have a living and a little kitchen dining room and then a separate bedroom and bath. So,
How big are these, Bill?
and without parking too, you know,
Yeah.
the city allowed us not to have to provide a parking space, which that's what made this really be effective and work.
How big are these?
Pardon?
How big are these little
The first one, I think was around a little over, it was about 200 square feet plus, and we went up to like maybe 400 plus.
Amazing.
Something like that.
You know what? I would have lived in this when I was starting out. It's cute.
All right.
Yeah. So let's talk about some other new product ideas too. We talked a little bit about some of the stuff you're doing in the detached world and things like that. But what about this guy? And I'm
Well,
going to go to the floor plan just to flex in and out so people can kind of see that in relationship to this.
well, we talked about, Molly, we talked about trying to get the yard space to the front, trying to activate the street. And so this basically provides only 1 yard, and that's in the front of the home. So it's a high density, 16 to 17 units per acre. So your yard space is kind of your entertaining space, depending on how you set up your walls and privacy to the street. that becomes your yard. And then we kept it 2 stories because of the cost. It is modular, so we have a modular type construction for a lot of the house and stuff, or componentized, so it'll get the cost down. And then we provide variety in garages. This is a 1 car plus a compact. And then we provide some, additional parking depending on parking requirements in the driveway or not in the driveway. So just a solution that, we're using these in the build for rent platform, which gets a real high yield because we're finding those having the increased density. And then it gets the cost down. So it's an affordability play.
So one of the big things, as I was talking about trends to, each of the different architects, one of the big trends I'm seeing, across the country, name the state, and they've got the Arizona room, the California room, the Colorado room, and they're all sitting off the back of the home. Well, with the change, not just in COVID, but I would say just the change of so many more people working at home, and I hate to say it like this, but they're leaving the house less and things like that. I cannot tell you how many resale neighborhoods and what we're seeing in the trends from our new home shoppers and the desire to have that room moved to the front of their home, or resale neighborhoods that are redefining that and creating these little front courtyard spaces because they're just entertaining so much more. And when you think about your young kids, they're less likely to play in the backyard than they are in the front yard. So it's parents that want to watch their kids, they're hanging out with their friends, things like that. But there is a huge movement to these front rooms that are outdoors as well. So this is what a cute example of this. How big are these homes, Bill?
These are like, I think in the 900 to 1200 range, something like that. The other thing is you can see this garage where the blue car is. That's a flex garage. They can open up as like a little indoor room adjacent to your 1 yard.
Right,
So
cute.
so you got flexibility in the spaces as you use them too. And there's the barbecue, like you say, you can barbecue and your friends across the street and next door can come over. So it's
Terrific. I love it. Let's look at some of the ADUs, and I like to refer to ADUs as multi-gen too. I know a lot of you are looking at this as an alternative. California, Seattle, up and down the coast in different areas. There's all kinds of new codes related to ADUs, but Eric, you've done some super cool stuff in this. Let's talk about that a little bit with this concept.
Okay, so this is a new concept where we're taking alley-loaded single family and combining an accessory dwelling unit over the garage off of the alley, and it will take our density from about 10 units to the acre up to, if you're including that accessory dwelling unit, up to just under 20 units to the acre.
Wow.
So we're getting like 19.84 on this concept. There's a plot right there, and we're using curb separated sidewalks too. So, and 36-foot streets with parking on both sides, 24-foot alleys. The lot size is 43 by 70. So on this test plot, there's 80 single family and 80 accessory dwelling units. So we would get 19.73 to the acre.
This is clever.
It's a pretty high saleable square footage per acre, almost 30,000 square feet per acre. So what we're doing here is we're having a single family in the light yellow in the front with a 2-car attached garage loaded off of the alley, and then a patio yard on the side up to the 0 wall of the next house. We have a small front porch as well. So the main house gets a living, dining, kitchen, great room combination, open out to the patio, expanding the sense of space, even a bedroom and bathroom down on this plan too. The plan 1 is the ADU, which is the orange. It also gets a 1-car attached direct access garage where it comes straight up the stair into a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square foot accessory dwelling unit.
What I love is you're not compromising the main house for this, and yet that second unit, or ADU in this particular case, is going to live like a single-story home. Right? This is fantastic.
So what we're trying to do also is show the work from home office, the accessory dwelling unit, and even the contemporary or modern style of architecture, and how you can combine all those together as well. So we have the same ADU on the back of all 3 houses. That's your plan 1. And then the plans 2, 3, and 4 would be in the front half. And the yard configuration is a little bit different for each, but you can see how we can get some really generous living spaces. This plan 3 right here is just a little bit under 2,000 square feet.
And very different entrances too, right, Eric? I mean,
Yeah.
one's the front of the alley and one's off the alley. That's great.
We go upstairs in the main house and you've got a master bedroom, master bath with lighting on 3 sides of that. So we get a lot of natural light. And when you come up to the top of the stair, we pop the roof up a little bit. We have that work from home office also. So it doesn't feel like you're coming up to a constricted area at the top of the stairs. There's a lot of natural light. And the
Really?
same thing with the stairwell over the accessory dwelling unit,
I love that.
the natural light. And this one, we actually have a 3-story where we go up to a 3rd level and we can get up to a little over 2,600 square feet. So when you're talking these kind of square footages and you're at almost 20 units to the acre, that's a significant improvement.
Yeah, this is really cute.
And you
I'd
go
like
up to
to
the
do one of
top
those.
floor, you get a bonus room and your couple of bedrooms up there, and compartmentalized bath, and then the deck below. Room up with these modern styles for photovoltaic solar arrays and different orientations, which I think is important. Next slide.
Oh, for sure.
These are some of the elevations. You can click through these pretty quick. That's our plan 3. And again, we're bringing in the natural materials, the wood and stucco and the metals. We're starting to get really warm up the modern styles of architecture a lot.
Super cool.
Next slide. That's the plan 2. And then our accessory dwelling unit over the alleys.
That's adorable.
And you put it all together, and that's what your street block would look like. So there's a variety of 2- and 3-story and 1-story forms in there too that really breaks up the scale of the community.
You know, and landscaping is so crucial when I think it comes to modern. I mean, just making sure that you've got enough green up against these spaces. It just feels
Really, really important. Good point.
Bill, let's go back to some of the clever spaces, just things that you're seeing out there and how to just think differently.
Well, I
What
think,
by
yeah,
the way, everybody.
coming out of the COVID, everybody decided to kind of return back to their homes and kind of explore how they're really living inside. And so we did a project up in River Island, Northern California, city of Lathrop, which we just explored, all sorts of different interesting spaces within the home. And so a lot of different options. This is just showing kind of a family beverage bar adjacent to the great room here that, you can kind of have another little hangout spot. The next image shows on the 2nd floor, we're off water, off a lake. And so we created a little spa room off the deck, off the primary bedroom and off the primary bath so that the couple, the adults could go up there and kind of retreat like they're on vacation. They could use that space for lots of different things. It could be kind of a beverage area, it could be a massage area, an exercise area, a reading area, etc. So just highly, highly successful, just creating kind of a specialized experience on the 2nd floor. And then the next image, shows it kind of from the primary bath. You can kind of read through to the little table there. And that's kind of your little extension in your, what we call the spa room there. Next image shows kind of coming back into the great room area. And then we have to your left there, you can see through the glass is our fitness area or exercise area. And so we use a lot of interior glass because we have views, plus people want to have sight lines to their family members and stuff. So this little flex space could be used for cold plunge, saunas, exercise, fitness, etc. So that was very popular. And then our next image.
This would make me move.
And then our next image is, the home office. We had lots of little home offices and they gained views to the remaining balance of the house, also to the view line. It's very contemporary. We had little pocket offices. Homework study areas off bonus rooms. So there was always this little area where you could kind of jump off and, have some privacy and do a Zoom call or study at home and that type of thing.
When it's open, you've got the glass, so you're still connecting, but at the same time, you've got the privacy from the noise. Right? That's
Exactly.
great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And then I think this last image here shows kind of, we're in the great room and you can see off to the kitchen there, we had an option to have a dual island in the kitchen, which was really popular. So it'd be kind of a secondary eating space where everybody's lined up to eat together as a family. And then you can see out to the lake area there. We have an outdoor room, and then what we call a little lounge room there. So another little area, breakout room, which you could go over there and kind of cuddle up with your pet, or you could read a book, or you could still be engaged with the family. You could have a little bit of privacy. So we call that the lounge room. So just little spaces that kind of reflect how people are wanting to be together, but they have a little bit of their own private sanctuary space that they could enjoy. So different uses of spaces, highly successful.
Yeah, this is a better solution to having the nook in the dining room. This kind of gives you a lot of choice. How wide is this space, Bill? Do you remember?
Well, the homes I think are let's see, 50, they're 42 feet wide.
Really?
Yeah, so not all that wide. No.
That's wild.
But
That's
you know, we're
that's
we're yeah,
42.
we're you know, obviously you're trying to feel the width of the plan, diagonal
Yeah.
views. You're trying to bring the indoor from the back inside. We're also bringing it in from the sides and the front. So you're always aware of the outdoors.
So 52-foot wide lot?
52-foot wide lot, correct.
Wow, this is fantastic. Well, let's talk about sustainability and technology. There's so much going on here. As you guys know, I have a long list. If you want to know what you should include in your homes by price point anywhere across the country, we have that information for you. We can go into that. But some of the really clever and different stuff, I know, Eric, you're so good at pushing the envelope on new design and pushing technology and stuff. So let's talk about some of the stuff that you're doing here.
We're working with a new home building company that's started as a tech startup, and they are 3D printing homes utilizing a proprietary material that's UV cured as they print it. So they are printing panelized walls that can be quickly assembled utilizing braced frames, and assemble those into 1- and 2-story homes. And they're using 99% less waste, 60% recycled materials, 3 times faster to build, and they're zero net energy also. Very, very, very insulated. So they're pre-panelizing roof panels, wall panels, and floor panels so that they can put all, and header panels and knee panels with the windows. So they have this whole kit of parts. And it's a very flexible kit of parts. We help design the whole system so it can work in a variety of ways. And what you'll see in the following slides here is a number of projects that are being put together for these systems to happen.
I'm going to ask the question that everybody wants to know, which is, what does fast mean? How long does it take you factory start to final vertical completion in the field? What's the time frame?
Well, you got to understand that the factory start of building the panels is happening at the same time you're doing your site work. So
Right.
those are concurrent. So you're shortening the schedule by having 2 concurrent work paths. So that accelerates the faster time. And then the other thing that also makes it faster is that with a telehandler and 3 people on site, you're building the whole house. It's very easy to put it together. And a lot of this stuff is pre-finished in the factory too. So as you're assembling the panels, a lot of the finishes are complete. And we're also modularizing bathroom components ahead of time as pods, and with that same telehandler loading those onto the slab and building around them.
So if site work's happening at the same time, we can eliminate that from direct, going vertical, right? So that's going to happen simultaneously. Then it really just comes down to your vertical construction. How long is your vertical construction?
In terms of speed, one of these 1-story houses can be put together in just a few weeks, very quickly.
That's wild. And then last but not least, cost roughly in relationship to stick construction is roughly what percentage difference?
It all depends upon the volume of the number of homes, of course.
Sure. That's
The
fair.
the one that you're going to see in Rancho Mirage, we're about 1.5 times the cost of stick construction currently on that one. Obviously, the more units you have, the cost per unit is going to come down.
Right. And as technology catches up with all of this stuff, I suspect that's going to continue.
Right. With robotics, it's going to help bring down the cost too over time.
For sure.
And they're also making advances in the technology that are making it more efficient. we can do interesting things like, these parametric patterns on the panels.
Gorgeous.
This is actually a single family and an accessory dwelling unit out in the desert. This is in Rancho Mirage, California, out by Palm Springs. And these will be actually vacation rental homes, both the ADU and the single family.
These are fantastic.
So 2,200 square foot home plus about an 800 square foot accessory dwelling unit. That's attached to a garage. And you can see how those lay out on the site. We're rotating and turning the plan in different directions. And they're all net zero energy. So this is kind of a demonstration project for this developer to show what can be done, as well as really turn to the very lucrative vacation market in this location.
How do the flat roofs work long-term? I mean, any sort of issues with weatherproofing and that kind of stuff? I know flat roofs are sometimes challenging. Any issues there, Eric?
These are all pre-panelized, so the waterproofing is actually done in the field after the panels are dropped in.
Yep,
So you're roofing it all as one material over the top.
it's fantastic.
And it's a very common flat roofs out of the desert too.
Beautiful.
Next slide. That kind of shows the single family from the front. And the accessory dwelling unit in the back next to the pool. The pools are actually modular too. They're dropping those in as well.
Really?
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah, it's pretty neat stuff. Next slide. Some of the interiors. They're taking the glass floor to ceiling so that they can get a lot of natural light. And these are hyper insulated homes. So the R values are much, much higher than a typical conventional home, and they exceed the energy requirements in California by quite a bit so that they can really be net zero energy.
And that's important when you have wall-to-wall glass, right?
Yes, especially in the desert.
Yes.
This is an example of the two-story typology that we've done for them. They're looking at this first one possibly going in Puerto Rico, in the Rincon area on the west side, west end of Puerto Rico.
So
And these
beautiful.
vacation homes as well. And we're combining the wood, the natural materials also. And those are pre-panelized in the factory as well.
I love just the extra texture, not just the wood, but the texture on the front and how the glass, it's simple, classic, but it's also, artful. It's just beautiful.
And they can do a variety of patterns. This is just one of the patterns that they can do. They have a lot of flexibility with the way that they can print.
It's gorgeous. Okay, well, now we're going to dive into, we've looked at all different segmentation on homes, how to meet affordability, how to look at space is different. So we looked at, everything from 10 to the acre or 11 to the acre with master downs, all the way up to 42 to the acre, all stick, all affordable construction, to unique technology like Eric just presented. Now we're going to look a little bit at community and master plan. Bill, do you want to talk a little bit about this? We've got a couple here that you looked at as it relates to just layout and amenities and some of that stuff. Do you want to talk to this one?
Well, sure. What we're finding in our mass plan communities, when you're in kind of the suburbia or rural type things, obviously the density is increasing. I mean, we've seen a lot of great examples here today across the country and things, but across the board, the actual size of the lots are coming down, density is going up. We're finding that they're providing a more grouping of diverse products together, a much finer grained, and then completely walkable, and creating more of these kind of placemaking nodes where people can kind of congregate and come together and really kind of making reference to the environment or to the region that they're in. So I think that's really important. A lot of these that we're doing are kind of in more rural areas where they're agrarian, or they have, citrus trees or different types of crops and things like that. We're finding that we're trying to keep remnants of those and kind of interblend those into the community so you don't lose them completely and stuff. I think the other thing too is just the scale. I think the scale of these projects is becoming more appropriate. I think we got a little bit carried away with scale. And then they can be progressive. They can take on the attitude of the architecture. Again, it's going to kind of probably harken back to where it's located, but take more of a progressive spin on that.
No, I love that. We did that at Orchard Hills too, where we held the avocado orchards, and
Right.
it was such a beautiful amenity. I mean, and it was there, and they continue to produce avocados. We have, they still have a farmer come in and farm the tree. It's just beautiful. And I want to point out that you have 14 pickleball courts here. Is that what that is back there? Pickle is in, everybody. I know everybody knows that, but I'm smiling as I'm
Yeah.
looking at all those
Yeah,
pickleball.
no, we're, our communities now are finding where pickleball is really important. In fact, this particular community is Lagoon Valley up in Northern California, and their quest is to kind of have this sanctioned as a pickleball, national tournament site. And so that's going to be kind of interesting. And also too, there's an existing farm. So we have a 5-acre farm that's going to be active and kind of integrated with the community. And of course, at the heart of it is we have the Field of Dreams. You have to have the soccer and the baseball and all that for the community. And then a main street. So it's close by retail and shopping and services and things like that. So a lot of great opportunities for placemaking. Activating streets, the alleys, a lot of our clients don't like the alleys, but I think that there's certain situations where you need to activate the streets and bring
Well,
that
this layout for sure.
living forward. So, lots of blending of those.
Well, it's interesting too, because when you get to pickle and tennis and some of that stuff too, just the noise, you don't want it next to the residential anyway. So where you place it's just perfect. And then you've got the farmland and all that stuff. I mean, how great. And then a place to kick the ball. It's beautiful. What's the overall density for this master plan? From a
Well,
residential
yeah,
perspective?
this is fairly low, this one here. This is
Ah,
probably around 6 to 8, I would say, but some of our newer ones we're working on now are, going 8 to 14, which is, still predominantly single family. They're still, and a lot of these new ones that we're doing in the Central Valley, they're still concerned about attached housing, and so they're trying to avoid that the best they can.
sure.
And they're trying to avoid some of the controversial product typologies like clusters and stub alleys and, some of those different types and alley products to a certain point. But so we're having to reimagine, rethink different types of products that can kind of work within their particular environment.
No, it looks great. What about this one?
Well, this is a higher density solution. This is up in the city of Dublin. This is probably averaging 22 units per acre, and this is, a lot of attached. It's, very fine grain, mostly 3 stories, a variety of different typologies, flats, townhomes, combos, Z lots, some single family mixed into it, small lots. So it's just a very contemporized program. And this, we introduced, some opportunities to bring the open space into the product. It's very kind of grid-like, but there are some passeos and connectivity, not only on the streets, but also in passeos that you can get to some of the different areas like recreation, schools, amenities, and things like that. This was a leap of faith for our clients and for the city. They had not done progressive architecture and contemporary. So, it was an educational process of taking them to different projects and saying, could be an opportunity. So we spent a lot of time market research, understanding who the buyer is. This buyer is going to come out of the Bay Area. So they were kind of looking for something that was more urban and a more suburban environment. So very successful.
That's surprising for Dublin because it's pretty dense, at least the new stuff in
Yeah,
Dublin.
it's very, very dense. Yeah, but they had stayed more traditional in their architecture until this project came along.
Mhm. I got you. What's the overall density for this master plan?
This is probably in the low 20s.
Nice. And that's net?
Right. Mhm.
Okay. So that not including parks and that kind of stuff. That's really fantastic. What about from an amenities perspective, the stuff that you're seeing out there? I know you did a couple of things on this, and then we're going to jump into another view of master plan as well. This is so cute, so fun, and certainly health and wellness are a big trend today. So many people want it. I do challenge the master plan developer that does this. How they maintain it is crucial, right? That's the biggest
Right.
challenge in this kind of stuff. And if you have a local farmer and it continues to go as a farm, it's great. But tell us a little bit about this one.
Well, I think that what we're finding in all of our big recommended is just the costs are just so large now that they're faced with how do you accomplish the amenity? And so this was a solution. We're kind of picking up on the farm vernacular here and just creating what we call a barn, but it's a contemporized barn, but it's a completely open space, so it's flexible for different uses. And so we've been debating back and forth, do we have a conditioned space or non-conditioned space? And lots of the communities we're doing now are non-conditioned spaces, but this can be used for a variety of events. You know, obviously it's close by the pickleball, so there's going to be food and beverage, there's going to be demonstration cooking and kitchens, there's going to be farmers markets, there's going to be schools that are invited, you know, for learning opportunities. So it's kind of the heart of the community, and it's integrated in with the community with architecture that reflects the community. So it's kind of fun, kind of different, but and then the next image.
Real quickly, I will tell you, based on our research, covered outdoor space is actually preferred over conditioned indoor space. But I will say it doesn't mean they don't want indoor conditioned space. It just allows you to get away with less or different uses for it. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, ultimately we're mixing them. We're going to be mixing them. Now this is down in Rancho Mission Viejo, and this is for RMV. And so the project is a large-scale master plan community. We've been involved there for years, and so it's surrounded by natural open space. And so we're trying to differentiate the recreational areas now and make them something that's a unique experience. So the idea here is to bring the open space that you see surrounding it into the actual space itself. So we went to more of a lagoon kind of lake type situation that you can kind of create this, kind of replicate a lake. And then the buildings themselves are kind of pulled back. They're secondary and they're smaller in square footage. They're smaller uses. We have a cultural center. We have a fitness center. We have a kind of a meeting space. And it's all done kind of in a very loose and formal organization of the buildings and creating this kind of indoor, outdoor kind of recreational space. So it's, you know, completely different. And then here's what we call the hangout spaces. You know, a lot of our spaces are getting smaller. This is unconditioned space. So it's just, you know, creating smaller satellite uses surrounding the communities to pull down the cost. Completely unconditioned space.
You know, one of the things I really do love about watching this in action is it allows a lot of different families to have their own little parties around this pool. So sometimes, you know, one family will dominate a pool or whatever, but this allows for a lot of little activity centers. And if you visit this pool, it's fun to watch. It's fun to see so many people love it. But yeah, no, it's super fun and super different. Where is this one? Is this Rancho Mission Viejo as well?
This is also Rancho Mission Viejo, yeah. And I think the Great Park has been doing this also too, where they're having smaller satellite little recreational venues. And this is just one, we call it the perch. And so you can just hang out in the space. You have kind of protection from the sun. You have gathering spaces, a little restroom area. And so it's multi-purpose. You can rent it out. So it has lots of different uses. But again, it's pulling out the cost. The cost of these have gotten so high. It's affecting HOA, it's affecting everything in these projects.
You're right. And what a beautiful setting and a beautiful background. We're going to dive into as we sort of wrap up. Garrett, take us home with, this is a whole new concept on master plan. And I'm going to click for you. You just tell me what you want me to do next.
Okay, so this is a new master plan. We have 63 acres, 1,423 units. This is in an urban location, so an overall density, including the parks and public streets, we're at 22 DU an acre. This is a master plan in Orange County that we are working on with Nicole Burdett and Cheryl Casanova from Brookfield Residential. This is a variety of product types, and the whole idea here is to design a master plan that has so much variety and character, pedestrian passages, and a connectivity that allows you to let your kids run to their friend's house without having to worry about them crossing major streets. And the product solutions found at a master plan such as this is what we take and what we use to inspire new product types across the nation. If you change the slide, you can see here it starts from where we border up against a detached conventional lot edge on the south side, and we progressively get more and more density towards the north, where we're doing apartment buildings, you know, a podium in blue and the wrap buildings in the orange color, and that's up against the train station. But this is walkable. I mean, walkable meaning you can walk to Whole Foods, you can walk to the movies, you can walk to this linear park, you can walk to a train station. The single family, we have 5 different product types here. We have a single family, we have a traditional town that acts like a necklace around the blocks, and then we put within those townhomes a product that was inspired by the London Muse, which is a back-to-back townhome, which allows us to achieve upwards of 30 DU an acre without having to use an elevator. It's a huge solution in an urban location, and the aesthetic doesn't take you far from it. Centralized in the community is an amenity building, but the real amenity for most communities is if you're able to provide retail and walkability. So if you were to zoom in here, where we did do the back-to-back, instead of designing streets, we designed them as plazas. And if you look at the London Muse, you can see that the strength and their character is really the plaza design of the street and making those streets uncomfortable to drive in, but friendly to play in. So it's all about creating something in Orange County that was attainable for all people. You know, the back-to-back goes from a 1-bedroom, 800 square foot for sale unit, and you can go to the single family product up to a 3,400 square foot house. Something that was also, I think, very innovative here was on all the townhomes we're providing ADU units. And most of the single family homes were providing ADU units as well. And that also, you know, we're, you know, in a site in Southern California, we have to be creative when costs of land are upwards of $7 million an acre. So we're trying to create ways for people to buy a house, get into the real estate market, but also offset their mortgage payment with an ADU. And I think if you have any questions about it, you can reach out to me. I can share with you some of the floor plans, but in the single family product, those ADUs, and if you've done ADUs, you know that they have to be under a certain square footage. I believe it's 650 square feet, but we're able to give them a living, dining, kitchen, plus a separate bedroom in the single family units and a single bedroom on the townhomes with a Murphy bed type of solution to create an adaptable plan type. If you want to go through the next slide. For the single family block, early on, we were doing a lot of contemporary elevations, but we went and we looked at one of the best small lot communities in California is in Corona del Mar and the Newport Peninsula. And what's happened there is that it's a small lot, and it was the original small lot community. And people have torn down their houses and rebuilt their houses, and people are doing contemporary elevations, and they're right next to a Spanish elevation. Spanish in California is contextual to when the Spanish came to California and built the missions up and down the state. So it's contextual, and then we have the farmhouse elevation adjacent. And what we have in a single family is a varied width, meaning we have the plan 1 that is very thin. The plan 2, which is the Spanish elevation here, is wider. You have living, dining, kitchen at the ground floor, and the plan 3, that's a 2-story house. All of these houses were designed to engage the streetscape, bring people out of their houses and meet their neighbors, create serendipity, create community. We found when we design houses that way, the values of the community go up. People want to belong to that community because they feel connected to their neighbors. These are also on 0 lot lines, so that we still do provide private yards and enable people to have dogs. So they have a side yard that goes from their unit all the way to the unit next door. The architecture, as well as a mix of contemporary and traditional, when we do traditional, we take away all the fussiness of the details, and we're going towards a more contemporary traditional aesthetic. You can see that with the Spanish. There's no fussy detailing. It's very clean and simple Spanish, and the massing is strong. And the farmhouse as well. It's clean, simple massing, and we've really resulted in a timeless character and a very intriguing streetscape. And something unique here too is there's a bike pathway, and we created a boardwalk. So in front of the homes, it was important to bring front yard setbacks close to the street scene. And you'll see that character in some of the richest communities in America. If you go to Charleston, South Carolina, homes have very close setbacks, and it creates a rich and strong character for the community. And then we have a big pedestrian path here that's 12 feet wide. So you can literally be walking with people, with your friends, and you can pass another group of friends and not have to step into a garden or step into the grass. And we're able to achieve strong connectivity, wide pedestrian realms, or a very well-designed pedestrian realm, because we're able to get that density. This single-family product, it's showing 9.67 DU an acre, and that's spread out on a site with parks and paseos. This actually achieves up to 12 DU an acre. You can go to the next slide.
Well, the size of those homes too, Garrett, are phenomenal, up to 4,000 almost, right?
Yeah, this is a interesting concept, and we took the floor plans out, and if you guys want to see the floor plans, please reach out. These are very narrow duplex homes, and these are also inspired from a community in Corona del Mar, where the units are very deep, but they're not very wide. So there's a unit in the back and a unit in the front, and the architecture is very contemporary. And these communities, or this part of the community, this paseo connects you and links you to the greater park. It links you to the amenities. It also links you throughout the community. So this is where I said your kids can leave the house, go to their friend's house, and you feel safe about them not crossing any major streets to go to their friend's house. These are the townhomes. These townhomes front onto a park, so we popped the top where they face the park, and we put a 4th floor roof deck, and you'll notice the massing at the corner. These townhomes go down the street on both sides, and we connected the townhomes on the corner and brought them down to 2-story, 3-story, and then 4-story massing. The massing steps back as you go up, and we've also brought down the cost of these by, and this is just for California, but stucco is a predominant material. It's the most easy material to articulate an elevation with, or cost-friendly way to articulate an elevation. So we're just color blocking stucco here, and it gave it a rich character. And then bringing it down at the corners to 2 stories also helps that verticality and animated streetscape experience, where it's not all one height going across the streetscape. So you can scroll through these. I think we have a couple images here, but that's another portal connection for the pedestrians to walk through and connect to the amenities. This is that street wall, and you can see we brought the elevations close to the street scene, but then step back that 4th floor to enjoy the amenities of the parks that these occur directly across from. Expansive outdoors. I brought these pictures in, and you can kind of flip through these fast, Molly, but this is where we were inspired for the back-to-back units, and these are called the London Muse. And we wanted to see if we can create this same idea, and these are very high rates sales in London. They're a beautiful place to be. You can see the cobblestone streets, and it's all garage doors in those streets. There's also closure at the end. So in architecture and community design, you want to make sure you open people up and then provide a closure at the end for wayfinding. These are the modern interpretation of a London Muse, and you can see, although it's garage doors at the base, they're not glass garage doors because of cost and the reality of kids playing handball or whatever in there. But we've enhanced the street paving in those Muse, and it allows people to come into them and celebrate them as plazas. You can see
Right.
the pedestrian connectivity. This is the streetscape, so you don't really notice it. This is where we're bringing in really attainability, and this allows people that work for us, my kids, when they grow up and buy a house, these are attainable houses that you can get at a density and a product size that allows people to actually afford to get into the real estate market. We're designing units that are 800 square feet all the way up to 1,500 square feet in those. And then the top resale market, or the most multifamily or densest product, is these flats. And we've done these flats in a couple different communities, starting in downtown Anaheim, and they've evolved into, they're private garages, they're elevator served. This product gets 30 DU an acre. On this site particularly, we're getting 25 DU per acre, and that's again parks, paseos, amenities, and they range from 1,000 to 2,300 square feet. Single level flats, huge for the buyers. People would prefer to live in these units because they're single level entries. This is more of an aging in place buyer, someone that doesn't want to do the stairs and still wants to live in an urban environment that's walkable. You can keep going. We'll show these are the elevations of those single level flats. So although you're living in a flat, that 1,000 square feet feels huge because you don't have a stair robbing you of square footage, and the decks on these flats are fantastic. They're designed to be usable, and so you can put a dining room table, you can put a couch out on your patio. Here's a video of the architecture of community at this modern master plan. And so you can see the 2-story farmhouse elevation up against, so we're going back. We went to an architectural style where we designed eclectic communities, then we went to villages that were inspired by Santa Barbara, where it was all one architectural language, and now we're kind of mixing it back up to create a rich architectural character where we are bringing in, everyone has their own idea of what they would like to live in, whether it's modern Spanish or contemporary farmhouse. These are the duplexes, so these are hitting 18 DU an acre, and they are fantastic places to live. They're 21 to 2,200 square feet, and we really are able to create a product that I don't think this product has been seen. We worked closely with the city to develop this architectural language. When we get into these paseos, you can see the architecture's got very contemporary. I think it's interesting when we present paseo type products to people across the nation. They don't really understand paseos, the landscape fencing, the semi-private patios, and the full private side yards. This is taking you down that 12-foot pedestrian pathway that allows groups of people to engage. Anytime we go into a pedestrian portal, we're changing up the product. So it's always interesting in this community.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
This looks great.
This is a very cool. Yeah. And you'll see it, some of the stuff I shared earlier is, in Orange County, the high price of land, we're constantly challenged to create product that's new, fresh, gets you a density to bring down the cost of the land to make housing attainable. And the reason I brought the product from Indiana, specifically, I brought some other product as well. There's the pedestrian passageways, is because I wanted to show that the stuff we're doing in Orange County can be applied to other places in the nation, like Texas in particular. Density is an issue, and changing the way people live is something that we have to look at to create value, to move away from conventional lots, and further spread segmentation within a master plan.
Well, and the one thing I would tell you, it was interesting to see some of the more authentic bungalow styles mixed into that. I think it warmed up that modern. I think it really helped that modern not feel cold and sterile. as we're wrapping up, and I should have announced this at the beginning of this presentation, this one always tends to be a little bit longer because we're going into design. So we typically do dedicate an hour and a half. So Garrett, we're going to blaze through this one really quickly, if you don't mind.
Sure.
We're going to go through obviously some areas where you've applied some of these principles. Do you want to talk to these real quick?
Yeah, thank you. So taking some of those ideas from creating a contemporary master plan is product and putting product in new places. This is a community in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're at 148 units. We've presenting alley load, cluster, single family, and actually townhomes here. And we're using that density to create rich amenity spaces and walkability throughout the community. You can move on here. So this is the master plan and axonometric of the townhomes. This is a street scene of the alley loaded product. What was fun about working in Baton Rouge is going into the different aesthetics in the South and going into the Creole. Spanish is very influential there. And of course the French is very, yeah. So we presented a cluster type of housing, new housing type for that area, and bringing in a 10 DU an acre that helped us rich up the amenities or the walkability of the community, less curb cuts. This was the architectural, when we were just drawing elevations and understanding, and it was really cool working in Baton Rouge. They actually brought in an architect to critique us and put golden triangles over our drawings, and they were actually right on point. The eyes of our designers at Robert Hidey Architects were able to really get the proportions perfectly to have this older architect kind of overlay. And then you can keep going. So that was
fantastic. I love
cluster street scene. And what we're really trying to do is take garage doors off the streetscape and push them back. You can see that at the middle unit. In the clustered elevations, is we're trying to make it look more pedestrian friendly than a car-oriented design. And the result is in the images here. This is the cottages, the smallest product. You can see it's just pedestrian friendly. There's street trees, there's walks, the porches are close to engage people walking by. The paseos, so you just get this high sense of walkability and placemaking.
And this is the actual built out community, Garrett?
This is the built out community.
God, it's terrific.
And the architecture is very charming. I mean, you can see, well, what we do is we go very contemporary and then we go very traditional. And if I brought some of the stuff we're doing with Robeson in the Bay Area, we hit traditional like nail on the head.
One last one.
Oh, go quick. Lake Bluff, Illinois. So this is a community, they bought it. It was originally 85 homes. It was very conventional, not much segmentation. We looked at it. We have, you can keep going. I'll just keep talking. We analyzed the site, the problems with the site. What we're losing out on is the community connected part of the community design. You live here, you literally have no connection to your neighbors. And they're losing that richness of community. When you're building a community, to make the houses worth more money, you got to live somewhere where your neighbors are great and you're connected with them. And you can keep going. This is just pointing out some of the flaws. We came out, we preserved the loop road. We understand where the views, the opportunities, the constraints are, what we can introduce in terms of product type. So we took it from 85 units previously. We're understanding constraints and opportunities. We lay out a diagram how we can connect the pedestrians to some of these amenities, and those amenities are wetlands, they're ponds, they're existing mansions on the site, and we're turning those into amenities. And then you could go to the next slide. Now we're presenting a cluster, an alley load, and taking them to a conventional and spreading out that segmentation. Multiple generational types can live in this community, and keep going.
How many homes total here?
85. Now? Oh, we're at 108 units, but it was originally, when they found it, was 85 units. And so we start with these smaller cottages that are 1,600 to 2,200 square feet. And you can see, again, it's all about the pedestrian. It's that scale. It's bringing the front porches to the street or the paseo and engaging community. And then we went to the preserve. These are 2,800 to 3,100 square feet. A little bit narrower lots where you're stepping up in segmentation. Conventional lots that you can see. We looked at the Illinois. We looked at context. You heard Bill talk about regional. We understand the region of where we're designing, and we're providing, we're taking that context and designing something that it doesn't look so production. So this is a private builder, and we're trying to create something very unique. These are timeless. These will last forever. It's an aesthetic that engages community life. You can see we're tucking the doors, the fenestration up into the roof pitches. We're using scissor trusses and I would say modern ways of building. We're not straying away from modern ways of building, but we're achieving this charming character of an older neighborhood here. You can keep going. And then we have the largest lots, which are the estates.
Hold on 1 second, you guys, sorry.
Yeah. The estates, and these are the biggest lots here. These are 4,000 to 4,800 square feet. And much more charming, much more street presence, character. Looking at proportions, we're bringing it up, you know, not stopping it at the plate, but bringing it up to the window line in terms of a base, a middle, and a top. And, you know, going back to the richness and charm and character that you'd want to buy in a community. And so this was all about taking ideas that we're using in Orange County, which, you know, price of land is so crazy. And I think you saw throughout this whole presentation is we're all, you know, it's a density race, and how can we get density without compromising too much on livability? And we're challenged with that so much in Orange County that when we're taken to, you know, this is in Illinois, and we took you to Indiana and Baton Rouge, and we're even working with Brookfield in Virginia and Baltimore, DC area. We're taking those ideas and we're applying them across the state, and it really helps our clients get higher values and higher price points for their product and have communities that people want to live in. It's not just a community of conventional lots and you got a curb cut every 50 feet going into a driveway, but it's actually creating character and something where they really think that a home is a home and it's warm and yeah, great community architecture. Thank you.
That, you know what, you guys, that was fantastic. As always, whenever I do these, I learn so much. Not only did we talk about demographics, again, we talked about product all the way from 10 to the acre all the way up to, and some slightly lower than that, all the way up to 42 to the acre. We looked at multi-generational ADUs. We looked at different ways to actually build homes. We looked at different ways to design master plans, different amenities, different spaces. I had a lot of questions that actually came in. And I'm going to say, just given the time that we're at, we're about 10 minutes late on this one. If you want to send those directly, again, it's Bill Hezmalhalch at WHA. It's Garrett Hoskins at Robert Hidey Architects and Eric Zuziak at JZMK. Reach out to me directly. I'm happy to send you their V cards. They're fantastic. Any way that we can continue to help shape. There's something for every household, every life stage, every geography, as Garrett talked about it. And one of the best things about doing what we do is this stuff's going to be here for hundreds of years. And what a great place and what a great industry to make a difference. So again, thank you guys for joining in. I want to throw out that somebody corrected me and said there were 26 pickleball courts, even more than that. So I thought that was a great comment. But there were some great questions and comments about density. Again, it's a great time to interact with these architects directly. Don't forget a couple of events we have coming up. Builder 100 couldn't be a more beautiful place to do it at. It's in Laguna Niguel at the Ritz-Carlton. So please join us. It's actually in Dana Point, but they call it Laguna Niguel. Go figure. And then we have future plays. All the stuff that we talked about from a master plan perspective. Bill, Eric, Garrett, I'd love for you to come to both of these, and particularly Future Place, where we talk about sort of where design is going and how to change that and what's going on in the master plan world. And we're constantly pushing sort of the agenda for the future. So either one of these, please, 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 all of you join us. We love that you join us for these events. I can't thank these three very talented people for joining us too. We can't do them without them. If you want more like this, or there's something we didn't cover as we talk about design trends, please let me know. If you're looking for what customers want and what they're willing to pay for in the master plan world, the home world, I'm your person. And with that, we're going to conclude. Again, thank you for joining us, Eric, Bill, Garrett. So much fun.
Thank
Learned a
you.
lot. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.